Sometimes I find that I get calm and focused, and I'm just surprised because I expect to be just shaken in anticipation, and then when the moment comes, from someplace comes a quietness and even a sense of conviction that everything's going to be right. You know, if we relax the pressure and go back to what are fundamentals. I remember. I didn't have much of an athletic career because when I graduated from college, I only weighed 115 pounds, but I'd had some football experience with and put on uniforms and so on, but I can remember the coach always saying, "Look at men, and it's all right to get excited about the big game," but he says, "But there's only blocking and tackling, you know," and that's just if we lick the fundamentals, this is where we'll do as best we can.
All right, Sopranos and Altos, week 3, the quarantined chorus. Here is some specifics on both of your parts that you guys can do now and later to continue being the very best choir singers that you can be. That video that we started with today was, of course, Robert Shaw and his conducting series that he did at Carnegie Hall, which was the Creating a Masterpiece. And it was the 8th in that series, right towards the end of his life, that he had done in the 90s, early to mid 90s, and it was Haydn's The Creation and the Four Seasons, and a beautiful work that he did there, and a very good way of looking at things for us, that it really comes down to the basics, and that's what these videos are about today. Now this first video is really for all singers, sopranos and altos. I encourage both of you to listen to this as it talks about the high register, whatever that is for you. For sopranos, it's going to be your high notes, specifically above F, E flat, F, and altos, anything probably, I would say, above C. And things that you need to be aware of and things that you need to do, some modifications that you might need to make in order to get those high notes to sound as beautiful up there as they do in your mid-range and low-range registers. So go ahead and let's get started with this video for both of you.
This is for all singers, but especially sopranos need to slightly drop the jaw on ascending leaps into the upper range, like this. If you're singing an E vowel, you keep it the same, it gets tense when you go to the high note. It's a simple matter of sound logic again. The higher a pitch goes, the more shrill it becomes. Trumpet, siren, soprano. The other rule is the bigger the thing or opening, the mellower the sound. Violin, viola, cello, bass. Trumpet, French horn, trombone, tuba. If that's so, the higher a pitch goes, the more opening the sound has to have to sound as good up high as you do down low. That says, on an ascending leap, drop your jaw and have the back of the roof of the mouth up a little bit too for the opening and back. And then they sound as good up high as they do low.
But I don't believe voices should be manipulated to sing less than other voices. I think if you have a bigger voice, you should be allowed to use it. But if we're singing mezzo piano, by golly, you better be singing mezzo piano. And then if you do, it sounds like a really good 3 more people. Not one voice sticking out. It only sticks out if that sound is a little more than others and not so beautiful.
All right, now we're going to get into some section specifics, although I would encourage you to continue watching it no matter which voice part you are. This first part is going to be especially for sopranos. Maybe for some second soprano and first alto, there'll be some applicable information in here for you too. This first part talks about the voice style that you sing with sopranos. This is maybe something you've not thought about, maybe something that you've never thought about, and you've probably sung with largely the same voice since you were in high school. And that's fine, but I'm going to encourage you to build on what you know and to try to take yourself a little bit further than you've ever gone before. And this talks about ways that you can better fit in so that we can achieve that completely blended sound, something that you would hear with the Fred Waring and the Pennsylvanians, something you would hear with the Robert Shaw chorale or any of the other professional chorales. This is true vocal blend if you follow the principles that he lays out before you hear. So go ahead and take a listen as he covers some of the soprano specifics to the beautiful sound in the upper register as you guys carry mostly the melody and the part that we naturally hear since you're singing the highest part in the choir.
Okay, so let's talk about sopranos. Let's do. Sopranos are like the trumpets in a band or like the violins in an orchestra. They're what people hear. You don't hear the French horn so much and the violas and some of these things as much as you hear the first violins and the trumpets who have the melody. They're the highest instrument, so they have melody. And the two things to being high and having melody, that's what everybody hears. So the sopranos have to be the best section of the choir. No matter who they are, no matter how old they are, they've got to be the best, most beautiful section of the choir. So, the first thing out of sopranos is it says, sing lyrically. That means don't sing like a dramatic Wagnerian soprano. Whoa! Sing like a lyric mezzo, a lyric Mozart or Bach soprano. Now it says, look under that, it says, they sing, sopranos should possess, right by lyrically, a somewhat youthful freshness. Means they will sing with animated, youthful spirit. A youthful spirit. They won't sound like kids. I'll tell you, sopranos, would you stand? Sopranos. All sopranos. Oh, come on, sopranos. You got more sopranos. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to key of E flat major. Okay, now drop your jaw on the high note and do it again. Yeah. Now do an impression, and I mean a real impression of the best 19-year-old soprano in America. Feel like 19, sound like 19. Could the rest of you hear any difference on that one? Yes or no? Not so much? Pitch again. Now don't play it. You sing like you're 50 years old. Now sing like you're 19, but open your mouth. Now that's a lyrical soprano sound. That will be beautiful on any anthem by any group of singers. Have a seat.
This next part talks about a couple of rules that we'll be implementing moving forward, and he covers one of them here Another one is the first video that you saw that talks about opening up and developing that mellow tone in the high register. The third part that we aren't going to talk about here is compromising diction towards an ah vowel when we get above an F to an F sharp in the register for sopranos, for first soprano specifically. When we move up, we're going to begin working on that more specifically when we get back together as opposed to show it to you in the video. But listen here as he talks about some of the specific rules for sopranos.
We have some very definite rules. Do not sing forte above the staff. See that one? Sopranos never, ever sing forte above, say, an E natural. Starting the top line, F, from there on, mezzo piano to mezzo forte. Even if the composer, like Beethoven, writes fortissimo all the way down, every voice, everybody in the orchestra, everybody's singing fortissimo and playing fortissimo, and the sopranos are on high B flat, mezzo piano. Could I have an A major chord, please? Start on the second space, just women. The second altos on second space A, first altos on C sharp, second sopranos E, first sopranos high A. Ah, ya. Now let's hear a lot of first alto, a lot of second alto, and a lot of second soprano, and the frosting of first soprano. Pitch again. Drop your jaw and sing it. Now I don't hear any first soprano. High A. Again, now I'm going to conduct for the second sopranos and the altos. I'll be conducting big. One first soprano was a little too loud at first, and then she pulled back a little. Let's do it again. First sopranos, I can't sing it for you. The composer wrote forte, so I have to conduct forte. You have to discipline yourself. Once again, ready, and up a half step. Now, the second sopranos are on an F sharp. That means you have to sing mezzo piano. So the second alto's forte, the first alto's forte, the second soprano's mezzo forte, the first soprano's mezzo piano. Would you run these up slowly? Drop your jaw to your knees. Ya. And it works.
All right, altos, it's your turn. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you guys probably have the hardest task of any of the four sections. Sopranos carry the weight of being the ones that are heard, and it's a little harder to hurt the tenor and bass voices as they've matured. But altos, you guys have been using the wrong voice, probably since high school, and probably more likely no one's ever told you. In this video, we're going to go through the proper way for an alto to sing. Now don't get scared, it's not as hard as you think, but it is hard to remember to use the correct voice all the time. Not only is this voice more beautiful, more lyrical, it also blends with the chorus, but it actually helps your voice last longer, to maintain that voice through your whole life, as opposed to feeling that weak and shaky chest voice as it begins to break down in age. This voice you can use to carry you through the rest of your life. Go ahead and listen to this next video, which explains the correct way to sing in the lower register of the female voice.
The break in the alto voice, women, would you stand? I just want to find out how many women we have. How many of you are altos? Okay. Now, of all the sopranos standing, how many know what I mean about having a break in the voice where you have a chest or a lower voice, and then you have a break, and then you have your top voice for high notes? How many? High, so we can really see. Okay. That's the majority. Have a seat. That's good. We'll have you stand again in a minute. The left point of that is your lowest note, and then the highest note is where you have the most volume. You have the human voice has the least volume on its lower note. So it's like this. The higher you go, the louder you can sing. The lower you go, ya. The sopranos do most of their singing where they naturally have more volume than altos, especially young altos in junior high and high school, in those songs. What does the alto do? They're not aware that they're not singing as loudly as the sopranos, but they subconsciously, quite naturally, sing as loud as everybody else is singing. But their voice can't do that in that range. So they add extra speaking sound, extra breath, and manufacture a chest voice. And then this line that goes up like this looks like this. That shaded part is a chest voice superimposed over the regular voice to get that much volume on lower notes. And then at the part where the shaded area stops and the line continues to the right going up, that's where they have the break, and then they go into their, quote, upper voice, which they seldom use because the part doesn't go that high usually. That break is usually around A natural, A flat. When I started teaching high school, and I was tired of getting summer jobs working construction every summer, I offered my high school kids, I'll give you 10 voice lessons throughout the summer. You can have 10 days in a row, once a week for 10 weeks, on the other side of your family's vacation. I don't care what and I'll give you 10 voice lessons for X dollars. Well, I'd get 50 or 60 kids that would sign up for lessons. That meant and that was my summer job. That meant I gave 500 to 600 voice lessons in the summer at age 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I learned a lot. That was about 2,000 or 3,000 lessons in just a few years with high school age people. And the altos would come in with this break in their voice, and I never heard that before. It's that bad sometimes, especially in older women who have been using that chest voice for many years, and they're now 45 or 50, and like that piano or this shirt, anything that's manufactured gets worse as it gets older. The natural voice, that would improve every year you get older, but it's not used much. And the break becomes more obvious and bigger, and if they go in and out, it's that obvious to them. So I started asking some college voice teachers that I knew, what do you do about this funny break in the girl's voice? And I'd get answers like, I don't know. Or you smooth it over till you just don't hear it. One lady says you take that lower voice, that's the one that really gives you the sound, and you take it up as far as you can take it, and that's it. Which is, of course, the worst thing you can do. Then I read a book, accidentally, by Caruso's teacher, who said, the voice is to be one continuous voice from its lowest note to its highest note. Now, if you just use that voice and no other voice, no manufactured chest voice, your low notes aren't going to be very loud, are they? And no composer that's a good one writes middle C, B flat, and A flat for an alto and puts fortissimo by it. Or a low G for the basses and puts forte by it. Because they know that. Now, an anthem that could be written by an organist who doesn't know much about the voice might tell you to do that. There might be a rare occasion, Beethoven might ask you to do that. If it happens, you put a couple of tenors on that lower note, or even some baritones on that middle C or B flat. But you don't ask the altos to sing in a horsey chest voice in order to accomplish it. Then if they sing in their regular, normal voice that looks like this, every year they sing it, that will get bigger because they're using it, just like they get taller by simply getting older. It gets bigger through use. The low notes will never be as loud as the high notes, but they'll be bigger than they were when they were young. And so they have to be taught to be patient, and so does the conductor. The conductor cannot ask for more sound from anybody's voice in the lower part of the range.
Ladies, would you stand up, all ladies? We're going to pretend you're all altos and mezzo-sopranos. What we have to do to eliminate this is start the way we sing on a high note. That would be in a high head voice, like the sopranos were using a minute ago. And now we're going to come down the scale like, ya. And what you would normally do is, ya, and do this. Well, we're going to stay under that voice, ya, and soften down and take that high head voice down to our lowest note. Would you give us that G major? Yeah. Start a G, ya, and sing lyrically, angelically, and you all have that sound. So don't just open your jaw and sing. That is your natural voice. Now start up there and go into a chest voice at one time and make it obvious. Hear that, guys? You don't ever want that voice used unless you're doing some gospel rock. See, they shifted that head tone right down into the chest. They didn't mix it like an opera singer does because they don't know how to do that. So they just shifted it down. Now let's do it again and do it right. And make sure you're a two-finger ah. Yeah, by G. Have a seat. Now, that voice, for some of you, has never been used. The high, because you don't have those high notes much in songs, and the low, because you use the chest voice all the time. So that's like an arm that's been in a sling, a cast, and you take it off, you can't even open the arm, you have to push it open. That voice has not been used. So it's going to be a little anemic and softer than you wish it was. But if you'll use that voice and no other voice than that, ever, that's a human thing. It will grow bigger as you use it. The low notes, how do I go this way? The low notes will never be as loud as the high notes because they're not supposed to be. And so no good composer would write middle C and put a forte by it for an alto.
All right. This next video sequence is really for the conductor, but I think it's important for you guys to see it too, because the truth is, most conductors, not all, but most, ignore the alto section. I'm sure that you've noticed that I tend to work more with the sopranos, tenors, and basses, and I fall into a large group of people that do. It's important to remember, for me, to work with the alto section, because although you guys are what some people call the business section of the choir, you know your parts, you have a good ear, you typically don't make a lot of mistakes, and so we just let you do your thing. But that's not right. I should give you guys some time too. And I'm going to give you some time in the future, but take a listen to this video that talks about singing beautifully. Don't use your speaking voice, use that singing voice. Use that lyrical, well-placed, beautiful voice with lots of vitality and energy to create the most beautiful alto sound that you can in that proper head voice that we just looked at.
Conductors, like forever, don't pay attention to the altos. They know the altos together. They're smart and they read music. They don't have any high notes. You got to worry about spread. You got to worry about tenor straining. You got about the bass not going to sleep. So they just sort of ignore the alto. So we don't teach the altos anything. They get the notes, and we're talking about, even if we do talk about musicality and syllable inflection and all the stuff we've been talking about, we usually address it to other sections. So altos seldom sound good. They sing accurately, but not beautifully. Now another thing, it says on page 5, at the top, encourage altos to sing musically, and in the middle page, do not sing the way you speak. We're going to put those two things together. Play with us as we sing it. Okay, all right, now let's start it again. So, and play very softly this time. guys, especially the sopranos, you listen to the, I'm going to have to sing that again, and you listen to their sound. Here we go. Sometimes. Sing. Good. Now, sing that again, and almost make fun of a great big opera singer at the Met. Feel big and sing. Almost making fun of them. Here we go. Come on. What? When you say, what to do, or what to do? Ready there? What? Yes. Now, all altos can sing like that. They can all sing like the Met. They never sing high enough that will be harmful. The alto part never goes high enough that it will sound bad or be harmful to them. They don't know they can sing that big. Would you do it again? What, would you all come, altos, just come into this aisle right over here. Good, 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 good. Now, music up to your face. Good, so you can see me. Now, twice the alto. Sometimes, but in a head tone. And here we go. Now you said, Marway. Isn't that who you are? Doesn't it begin with a vowel? Would you say, our way? Okay, sometimes. Now you're in the Met. You're in the Met. Here we go. Now you hear the difference already how they're singing. I hope you can hear that difference. It's really significant, isn't it? Now do the whole thing and make every measure better than the measure before it. Come on, go for it. Come on. Fine. Let us see. See? That's the reaction you get. And there isn't an alto in anybody's church choir who cannot do that. Just nobody ever asks them to. So, if we give our attention to the alto section and create beauty among them like we do sopranos, they will have beauty to offer.
And that's it. Sopranos. Go ahead and practice the high range techniques to have a beautiful sound with that lyrical, youthful freshness, the vitality, beauty, and placement that we worked in week 1. Altos, it's up to you and I to work together to make sure that you're using the right voice and that you're singing as beautifully as you possibly can every time we get together. I commit to doing that for you. I hope you, in turn, will practice and be ready to work with me on having the most beautiful alto sound that we've ever had. Next week, we're going to be looking at vowels and the beginning of the top 6 vowel placements that we need to work on. This will also intro into our series coming up on diction, which I know sounds a little tedious, but it's actually a lot of fun. And you're going to be able to hear how the proper diction truly sounds from the audience as opposed to just doing it in the choir. It'll be a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing you next week.